Bat music.
He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Hello and welcome once again to Bat Minute Returns, the show that turns happy homemakers into, I don't know, podcast listeners, I guess. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
Oh, I am the other host. I'm really looking forward to talking about those lines, too. I just love everything about this minute. I'm the other host, Niall McGowan.
And we are joined once again by our very, very, very special guest. It's Kiri Callaghan.
Hi. There's a lot of k noises in my name, unfortunately.
It's great. This is minute 63, and the minute starts with Batman telling Porkies. I suppose none of our American listeners will know what I'm talking about. And it ends with diseased Eagle Scouts. So we are back with Batman on the phone, and he tells Alfred that no, he's not in any pain, which is a lie. He's a liar.
Well, the thing, is he lying, though? Because it's like, maybe... Well, that's the thing, actually, because this is like... There's multiple iterations of this line throughout the various adaptations. Again, this is different in the original script. Actually, I'll just cut to that. That makes more sense. The Dan Waters draft, he doesn't even respond. He doesn't even talk to Alfred. He just comes in, takes the thing out, and goes meow. And then in the strict revised draft, Alfred goes like, "Are you hurt?" And he goes, "My ego, mostly."
That's the impression I still get. I think it's his ego and his feelings and whatnot.
But the thing is, then, weirdly enough, in the comic, the kids' adaptation comic, much like we were talking about in the last minute, where they had this real sexual thing of Catwoman pouring the water over her wound and been like, oh, pleasure and pain. In the comic, he says, Alfred says to him, obviously, "Are you hurt?" And Bruce goes, "A bit, but I don't really mind." And it's like, oh, is it? That would have been a nice parallel. I was like, is Batman getting off in this too? Like, what?
I mean, come on. They're both wearing rubber. I could totally, they're both.
Exactly.
They're both.
I mean, I have a book about gender studies called Gender Outlaw.
Ooh.
And in that book, they actually use a quote from this film and in fact, they go deep into Batman for a little bit, talking about how even though it's a man and a woman, their relationship is anything but straight. This is a queer relationship, like full on. There's no way that this isn't the norm.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what the quote was. It's like, they just managed to work in friggin', unlimited poontang at some point.
Yes, you got it. That's exactly.
And they're just talking about like, at one point they have their whole thesis is like, what does it matter when your erogenous zones are blowing sky high? Oh god, I can't wait to get to that scene.
Oh, that'll be fun. That'll be fun.
That's another scene when I was a kid. I was just like, whatever. And now I'm like, that's a line in this movie. Erogenous zones blown sky high. Jesus.
Oh, we will get to it. We will get to
apologies.
it. At the moment, Batman, he's really staring at this claw that was left behind accidentally. I assumed that this means that he's kind of happy to just have some kind of evidence to help him figure it out, something to go on. But then the look on his face, he's staring at it. And he's giving like the impression like, I figured out who it is. It's like, but he hasn't. Like, so I don't understand his reaction here. What's
sort
he
of
thinking?
always took this moment as a sort of like combined with his comment to Alfred of like, "Are you hurt?" Not really. I don't think he's even talking about. I always took this moment as a very like Prince Charming found Cinderella's slipper. Like,
yeah.
I sort of take this as he's weirdly charmed by her, and he can't quite. It's like, what is this feeling? We're seeing him being very charmed and being like, oh, like I'm glad she's alive. I think. Who knows? We didn't see him check on her, but I'm assuming.
Or maybe he thinks, oh, well, she died, but I have this memento.
But no, I did myself always take it to be like, this is him kind of one, like, it's almost like I'm pretty much saying, I'm into it. Because he's like, oh, there's, he's taking out this clause, like, oh, there's a new game in town. And he's just kind of like, the game's afoot. Like, meow. Like, oh, what's happened? Something new has come. And now it's like, oh, this is...
Maybe I won't be so bored.
Yeah, this is like a meow of intrigue. And he's like, oh, so this is interesting. Like, let's see what happens.
Someone who is of the same persuasion as he is.
Yeah, totally. I must say too, because we can cut to, unless people do have anything else on the Bat Cave scene.
No.
There's nothing else going.
But then we cut to the outside of the Penguins' headquarters, and a simultaneous unfurling, which I thought was quite impressive. Like, they got all of them to go unfurl at the same time, and there's no one even there pulling them down. It's like, that's amazing. How'd they do that?
Yeah, that is cool.
Magic.
I like the way it does show us as well, like, his campaign is now in full flow.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
I am bothered that they're using the old artwork of Penguin. No, because he's never once in this movie does he have a monocle.
Oh no, he does technically when he's writing the names of the children. That one scene, they have.
But I want him to constantly walk around with a monocle. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little sad we don't get more of like old school Penguin in this movie. I like this version of Penguin, but that moment does remind me of like we're missing the classy Cobblepot, who is also a terrible like human being, and I don't know. We'll talk about.
Well, I think though that's why the poster is this way. It's because Shrek and co. They're trying to create a character to sell to the people that he isn't. Yeah. And they can't even really dress him up that way. It doesn't work. It's like, he looks a mess. So just plaster these things all over the place, and that's the impression people will kind of get.
Yeah.
And he looks a mess.
But the thing is, though, I'm still... I guess it does make sense, though, again, because we keep saying this. Don't want to get into politics in the show, but the ascent of the Penguin is very similar to something that is currently happening in the world, where someone who seems like such a sleazy, villainous person has somehow managed to get themselves hoisted up and is a hero to the public somehow.
To be fair, Penguin did not have Russian aid, but...
Or did he?
I'll be saying at the end, when he had that bit of like the two cats sneaking out of the sewer... But then, like, in the background, there's those little Russian guys, like, oh, no, my plan has failed. I knew it was the Russians. That was them the whole damn time. But the fact, though, like...
He's not called Cobblepot, he's called Kaminsky.
Well, I think it was in Gotham. He's called Cobblepot. I think they have like a Russian connection. Maybe it's Polish or something, but he's called Cobblepot or something like that. So.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, in referencing that, this image, though, they present of the Penguin, particularly, I can kind of get this one of them with the umbrella protecting the city from the rain and stuff. But this main one, this is a kind of new one we haven't seen before, of him in the center, where it's him, the top hat, monocle, cigarette holder, and lit cigarettes, making him look like rich guy. And I've never seen, particularly nowadays, too, because, like, the big, the most likable... approachable politician in the UK is Jeremy Corbyn, who was the exact opposite of what's portrayed here. And it baffles me that people would want, like, someone who's coming off literally looking like, I'm like Scrooge McDuck, I'm a big hotshot rich guy. You want to vote for me for mayor? It's kind of like, no, I wouldn't. Like, that seems like that's the image you don't want to portray.
To be fair, though, the new Scrooge McDuck, I would vote for mayor.
If David Tennant was running for mayor, then yeah, totally.
I'd be like, all right. I'm wearing a kilt, McDuck. A kilt. Sorry.
But no, it is. At the same time, I say that, but then again, in actual politics in the real world, there's someone who is who's not a man of the people, but up in an ivory tower, rich asshole, has somehow won the hearts of apparently at least half, quote unquote, of the population. So I guess it does happen, kind of. But...
Actually, no, not really. But we won't. I'm assuming we're talking about my politics.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's,
so I won't go into how the Electoral College works, but he lost the popular vote, which means the majority of people did not vote for him. But because of how our politics work, we still got screwed.
Don't worry,
I'm not going to go
ours.
into like how terrible and dated the Electoral College is, but yeah. So no, less than half voted for him, but we still got stuck with him.
No.
All these types of politics have big flaws. Like ours doesn't work properly either. It's not based on who gets the most votes as such, which you think it would be.
Right.
It's called first past the post. It's the first one to get past a certain amount of votes wins. It's like, but there could be like plenty more that they haven't counted yet. It's like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter.
That
What?
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's a bit more nuanced than that. I'd have to do
fair,
a whole
but,
presentation, but it's stupid, basically.
Yeah. Politics everywhere are stupid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally, 100%. The thing is, though, not only do I not like the image, though, of like, oh, fat cat, rich guy is apparently the politician to vote for. I also, and I'm on record, I just don't like yellow, and he's got so much yellow in these posters. It's like, that in itself would put me off. It's just.
You don't like yellow? Oh.
I feel bad too, because it's like, I know it's supposed to be like a happy color and stuff. It's like, nah, man, maybe.
I mean, it depends on the usage of it. I feel like here it's more of like a neon-y, not so happy. Like, I don't know. Maybe in the front one where he's mostly like black and red, it's kind of a happier color, but it's used in a somewhat ominous sort of way, I guess.
I guess you could.
I think they're going for a dual thing. Like it's got an ominous undertone, but in the story, it's like, oh look, he's like illuminated by a spotlight.
Yeah,
you know, we're putting him in the spotlight. This wonderful man.
I guess though the yellow could also be like, well, it's a bit like. You get yellow on signs for toxic waste and stuff, so could be maybe that was what they're going for as well. But
yeah.
I just find it a very off-putting color. It's just like, nah, it's just never.
The amount of faces in Gotham. Like, look at this building. I don't know if we get distracted by the signs, but I'm realizing there's also these like random almost Aztec-like faces on this building, and I can't remember where it is. It's earlier in the film, I believe, where he's going down an alley, and there's just like this random like giant face.
Oh yeah, that's it when
like stone
Shrek's
face.
abducted. I mean, it goes in the
And you're just like, this is weird.
The thing is, these ones though, just due to like the kind of stone columns are on. You'd almost think you were like driving through Bowser's castle or something in Mario Kart.
Right?
They're like those things you're expecting them to come down like boom, boom, boom.
Boom. It's Gotham goes from a very interesting like right now it's got all these strangely like stone sculptures into the buildings, and then you get to like the Schumacher films and it's like giant Atlas statue in the middle. What? No one lives in Gotham, right? Like no one fucking lives here.
But then we do get the little we get to leap inside, and we see our newly tailored Oswald Cobblepot coming up.
But they didn't give him a shower. It looks like I'm very confused.
Yeah, or a haircut.
Yeah, his hair hasn't been washed or cut. No.
Yeah, you think that would have been a thing? It's like, no, we're going to need to trim that. But I guess maybe after like someone friggin' tried to give him gloves. And then the guy next to them got bit in the nose, so like, don't go near him with scissors. Like, just if he wants the hair that way, that's the way he wants it. So
That's fair.
At least keep it covered with the hat, though. You're trying to sell an image to people here.
Yeah.
But I do have to say though, I've actually been weirdly on board with most of Penguin's outfits because it's like he looks like he's pretty comfy. Like that onesie he has.
Yeah.
He's like, and he had that big fur coat in the sewer. Like, yeah, it looks pretty comfy. I like this outfit too. This is like, oh, he's looking well.
He's definitely the most comfortable of anyone out of the more extravagant characters.
Yeah, these are nice suits, I think. Like that's really really lovely, I think. Well tailored.
Yeah.
For his unique shape.
I do feel like it should be a little taller though. It bothers me his cravat is like the end of it is visible. I feel like that should usually be tucked in.
I know
but
this
maybe...
is actually it's a jabot. It's not a cravat.
Oh,
it's an old Victorian kind of thing. Because I've looked into this in the past because I used to be. Well, I still do wear loads of ties and stuff, but when I was like in university and stuff, I'd go out of my way to wear a wide range of ties. So I looked into
or a jabot instead of an ascot. Because technically a cravat can refer to anything that ties around your neck. I learned that the other day.
Oh.
Even a tie,
yeah.
like all things that go around your neck are cravats, but not all. Yeah.
So was an
But
ascot?
cravats
Yeah, that
are
makes
not
sense.
So
all-
an
yeah,
ascot's
anyway.
just
I can't
stuffed in the front, is that it? Or
Something like that. I don't know. Ascot, I forget what the difference is, but cravat can refer to anything that goes around your neck.
yeah. But yeah, so I do know, because I did find a jabot at one point, and I was like, oh,
A jabot.
it's a bit like the penguin, but it was extortionately priced,
Ah.
so I was like, nah, I'm not ordering that. So-
Just like the penguin. No.
I'm going to have to get you on now for the final episode. You can wear it. Not that the listeners will know.
So I have a very nice top
Just
hat
say
as
it.
well, so I was like, I could rock the
Yeah.
two of them. I could be getting the whole thing going. Just need to get a monocle on the go at some point. But
There you go.
the thing is, though, another thing, because I do like this penguin outfit, but I don't like the cut of this waistcoat, though. I don't like the waistcoats.
Oh, too baggy for
I
you?
don't like the ones that go way down to like your navel. It's like, well, what's the point of it then?
Ah, yeah.
It's like, why not?
I'm a fan of the high waistcoat, like up very high buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you're wearing the waistcoat, you might as well have
I
more
think
waistcoat.
this is to accentuate his odd shape, even though he's dressed more. I think this was a costumer decision.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because if it fit him perfectly, if it was completely tailored, then I think it would start to hide him a little too much.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's a good point, actually. I hadn't thought about that. That's probably what it is.
Because they
100%.
probably could have hit a bit more. Because I feel like if it was brought up a bit more, he would look a little less hunched and like, you know what I'm saying? Like he'd look a little less oddly potato shaped that he is. Because fashion is crazy and you can hide all a matter of sins. And I'm wondering if the costumer is like, if we do that, it's gonna take away from his costuming. We do still want him to look more like not quite right off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cut of that adds. It certainly adds some width to him. Like he looks. It keeps him looking wide.
I do enjoy the fact, though, that he's still wearing his weird latex black gloves. As if they're like, oh, we tried to get
Right.
rid of those gloves. Or we tried to cover his hands. And like, this is the closest we got. It's like, yeah, wear those ones.
Yeah, never.
So I can't imagine, though, again, much like, this is just Catwoman's problem, but just entirely dedicated to his hands. Like, why would you want something so uncomfortable that you have to kind of peel those off? I guess maybe he just gets off on, like, the eventual release of and the skin. It's like, oh, it's nice when you get them off finally. That's the only reason I can conceive of for wanting to wear these gloves.
I mean, I can't imagine that was something they really put into thought for him as a character so much as they're like, if we use that, it looks very sleek, like a penguin fin.
Oh yeah.
Whereas
I think that is
anything else is going to look like, even leather gloves are going to look not quite right to get that same sort of sleek feathered effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it looks, despite not being a natural material, it's the closest you'd get to looking organic. It doesn't look like a glove that he's wearing.
But we do get here, though, like as I alluded to earlier, it's like I just love this dialogue, this opening tirade he's allowed to go on.
Yeah.
I love this.
The whole delivery of it is like, I may have saved the mayor's baby, but I will not stand.
But I refuse.
Oh no, go ahead. Oh, by the way, if you if you want to deliver, Kiri, like you're the actress, by all means, go ahead.
No. By all means, sorry, I just got real excited. I'm sorry.
But yeah, the whole business like, I will not stand by tolerate a mayor who stood by helpless as a baby while Gotham was ravaged by a disease that turned Eagle Scouts into crazed clowns and happy homemakers into Catwoman. It's like, oh, that's good. It's like, oh, I'm almost ready to vote for this guy now.
I like this thing. It reminds me very much of have you ever seen Reefer Madness the musical?
Oh yeah, it
very much reminds me of that first song of turning all our children into hooligans and whores. Just like he's really hitting that propaganda thing.
But I do wonder though if this is like this is the way it goes in Gotham. That like, oh, this is how you win an election. It's like you just blame all the problems with the supervillains that have shown up on the mayor. So that like oh, he's gonna get rid of Roscoe Jenkins, the current mayor, by like, oh, he's just letting this friggin' the Catwoman and the crazy clown showing up and stuff. And then I would just wonder if, like, Roscoe Jenkins, his thing was like, that Mayor Borg, he just left friggin' the Joker show up all of a sudden. Like, what did we need someone to deal with this? And then...
That's why there's such a big turnover in Gotham, is that's just how everyone works. And since more and more villains keep showing up, they're like, well, crap, I'm going to get ousted because this guy showed up.
That'd be great. Just like 1 point years down the line, this is like, this mayor let Gentleman Ghost run riot around the city. And like, I am here to exorcise Gentleman Ghost and finally get rid of him.
I hate Gentleman Ghosts. Ugh, such a nuisance.
But I suppose, is this him officially announcing the campaign for the first time?
I think
know
so,
there's been
because
posters,
that guy,
but-
there's a guy in the middle of this who picks up a phone, and I can't. What does he say?
Oh, this is...
He says like puts in his like he's putting in his bid.
Oh, I believe the thing he says is like, Oswald Cobblepot, the man beast who has been, the mysterious man beast who has been romancing Gotham, now made his bid to run Gotham. I was like, man beast?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Which is
Yeah, have some
hilarious because
sympathy.
all he does is say like, I won't stand by. I guess he does say he's got Mayor Oswald Cobblepot for mayor all around the room.
Yeah.
But it's very odd that like this one guy after that speech decides, I gotta call in this headline right now.
And the thing is, because we saw from the previous night,
Just in case you didn't get it.
but when Batman was fighting like the Red Triangle Gang, there was Cobblepot for mayor posters everywhere, so it seemed as if it was a known thing. But this does indicate like this is him announcing the campaign now. I was like,
I suppose you still have to officially say, even have to put in the posters up.
yeah, well, I guess.
The Waters and Strick draft, though, does something wonderful with this speech. It's awful, right? It's absolutely terrible, as usual. I love it. He says, the difference here. He says, I may have saved the mayor's baby, but I refuse to save a mayor who stood by, helpless as a baby, while a band of hooligans flushed our fair city down the tubes of debauchery, devastation. And then he just rants in the background for a second, and it comes back in the middle of him going, inept, indecisive, and too tall. We don't need a tall man to run this town. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. We need a compact man who carries a big umbrella. Thank you all.
So that's going back to like that's like the '60s show. That's what they're going for there. Like that's the kind of crap Burgess Meredith would have been doing.
A compact man who carries
A compact
an umbrella.
man who carries an umbrella. You know what? Don't we all need a compact man who carries an umbrella?
I want that to be my new Twitter bio. I think a compact man who carries
an umbrella. We need to get you another picture for your Twitter. Then you need an umbrella.
That's true.
Maybe crouching down. Maybe you're not quite compact looking enough.
I'm not that compact. I'm 6'1".
Oh, so there you go. So you need to like crouch under an umbrella, and then we'll take that picture, and then that will be a compact man who carries an umbrella.
This is like the idea though, like for the rest of time now, John has to have an umbrella in any picture. It'd be like, oh, he's lying. He said he had an umbrella. This is a picture of his face.
Where's
I'll
your
never see
umbrella? You sit on a throne of lies.
That's a good point. If that speech was here, he would need to be carrying his umbrella, or he'd be a liar.
Yeah.
Exactly. Where's your umbrella?
But the thing is that when I was younger, and actually even up until recently, I always kind of thought, like, is this supposed to be a nod? Because I understand now that when he says, like, oh, Eagle Scouts into crazed clowns, he's referring to the Red Triangle Gang. But when I was younger, I always thought he was referring to the Joker, because, like, that was the last big supervillain. Was like, yeah, there was a clown guy who came and he was playing Prince way too loud in the streets, and everyone hated that.
Who could hate that? I want clowns playing Prince in the streets.
What, clowns playing Prince in the streets?
I want anyone playing Prince in the streets.
That's fair. All right, party outside of John's house.
But I think it's really hammered home from doing the show, though, because when I was a kid, I was like, oh, yeah, that must be what I was referring to. But then he's using this to diss the current mayor, and as we all know from doing Batman, there was a different mayor in the last movie who we talked about way, way too much, probably.
They really go through mayors in this town.
I'm telling you, every time a new supervillain shows up, they get ousted because this is how Gotham politics go. You let this happen. Are mayors supposed to be superheroes? Like maybe that'll be a thing of like, the mayor. Like he'll be known as the mayor.
That's one big moment I'm looking forward to in Batman Forever. Is like you do get a new mayor in there, and I think he has like one line. You could like he stands up in the middle of the circus when Two-Face is like, I want Batman to come down here now and reveal who he is. And then this guy just stands up and he's like, "What do you want, Harvey?" And like, "Oh, want Mr. Mayor, Batman." It's like, this new guy's the mayor. Let's get into him. But that's all for next year, of course.
I'd love it if the mayor was always central to the plot. That should be a recurring theme.
But one thing though we've been holding off on talking about because I know a little bit about Shakespeare from school, but not that much. But I know, Kiri, you yourself as a bard in your day-to-day life, you are much more in tune with Shakespeare. And one of the big things, apparently, in the influence for this version of the Penguin, a lot of people have noticed that he's very similar to the written character of Richard III. So,
yes.
Do you have any thoughts on this?
And Danny DeVito, I have a few actually, and I understand Danny DeVito took some inspiration from that to play the character.
He has his quote actually. I've got it right here. DeVito said, "Once I put the mask on, an incredible thing began to happen. I was completely free. I felt like I could do anything. I almost felt like I could turn to the audience and talk, do a Shakespearean turn on it, like in Richard III, where Laurence Olivier, with his hump, could do the walk and be miserable and lustful and talk about killing kids in the tower. It was exhilarating." So that seems to be indicating, like, he totally knew about, like, this Richard III.
Oh yeah, no. I think there's a lot of that to be found in Penguin. I kind of wish, because obviously Tim Burton very much had a vision for what Penguin looked like. I kind of wish he had the ability to dress himself up a tiny bit more to go that full Richard III, where yes, he is grotesque, but Richard III in the play is extremely charming. Like, he convinces, at one point in the play, if you're not familiar, he convinces the widow of a man he murdered to marry him. While they're taking the corpse of her father-in-law to the graveyard. Like, it is so ridiculous that you're just like, okay. And I feel like the Penguin is completely lacking any charisma in that respect.
Yeah, they seem to have written it as if he's full of charisma. Everyone seems to love him for no reason.
And I don't understand why, because he's very much, the direction is written, you're right, it's written like he has this, but all of his dialogue is very crude and jarring and full of, like, I mean, he freaking, I know it's the minute, like, what happens after our minute with the constituents or whatever, of just like, and she doesn't even flinch at it. And I'm like, this is gross. And I don't understand. That's one thing that does bother me, because I kind of think that would have added another layer that Danny DeVito could have carried very beautifully of that difference between charming and eloquent and absolute terrible murderer.
Yeah, I think just in case, in the odd chance that people out there don't know the plot of Richard III, it's basically about a hunchback, deformed villain, basically, his rise to the ascension and a brief little bit of him on the throne.
A series of murders. Yeah. I would try to go through all the people he kills, but it's one of those plays that, because it's one of the histories, is so full of very similarly named people.
Yeah.
Like, even Richard in the play is referred to mostly as Gloucester, because he's more known, like, there's been many Richards throughout the years, but he's more known by being the Duke of Gloucester during that time period. And it's just, it's lots of family. And again, we've got that incest thing going on.
Or, if you believe the first series of Blackadder, it's all a lie. And he was a lovely man, and Blackadder accidentally chopped his head off.
There's a great line from a play by Bill Kane called Equivocation, where he briefly mentions, Robert Cecil briefly mentions Richard III, and was like, he balanced the books. You don't know how hard that is. Which I thought was hilarious. But there's so many instances where I feel like, while they don't go that full dichotomy, which again, I kind of would have liked, because at the end of Batman, you know, when the Penguin is outed as being evil by his own words, I feel like that would have been a much more shocking moment if they had allowed him to play that spectrum a bit more.
Yeah.
Of going from really charming to terrible. But I think Danny DeVito has a better grasp on Shakespeare than Tim Burton probably.
Oh, absolutely. I imagine that. I can't imagine Tim Burton being. Then again, I was going to say I couldn't think he would be that into it, but at the same time, they're quite dark stories, so there might be something in there for him.
And especially Richard III, like he murders everyone. There's even a part where he murders children.
Yeah.
These young princes, and I think it's actually very interesting. Forgive me if I'm wrong about this. You can send me hate mail. I think it's the Duke of Hastings, who is like, not sure how we feel about killing children. That's not really super great. And then Richard has him killed. And it just kind of reminds me of that bit when he's talking about one of his clown buddies is like, killing kids in their sleep, maybe not so much. And he's like, kill you too.
Yeah.
There's some lovely parallels there. Obviously, you have, it's not said explicitly in Richard III, but it is sort of indicated that he was born not super great. I really hate, I'm not going to lie, I hate the trope of evil baby. I think it's so cheap. And it was completely unnecessary. I think you literally could have had just his parents be terrible people, decide this baby is deformed. Let's get rid of it. And because you never see them again. You don't need them to be sympathetic. They can be terrible people and then have created something terrible because they discarded this child for something this child had absolutely no control over.
I find that more, not only believable, which is a crazy thing to say about this movie, but I find that more compelling because at the moment you're kind of torn. Like, well, is he evil? We've brought this up multiple times. Is he evil by birth or have they twisted him by their actions? And it's kind of stuck in the middle.
Yeah, and I'm bothered by it because I feel like it's just so, anything that just starts out evil, I think, is just boring and cheap, and it doesn't. I don't buy it.
Yeah.
But you literally have these parents looking very tormented by this baby that they are keeping in a cage that eats a cat as a toddler or whatever, and you're like, what is happening? And it just, I don't understand the point of making him evil from birth if you're not going to ever have a moment with the parents again. It doesn't seem to have the payoff, and it's confusing, and I'm like, where is this? I think we almost had to kind of construct our own little theories and stuff, like perhaps when he shows up at the grave and stuff, it's indicated like when he's in the Hall of Records, he's not looking into who his parents are, he's looking to get the names of the firstborns, and it's I think we came up with a thing of just like, well, if there actually was, like maybe a year or two ago, the Penguin found out who his parents were, came to them, had a confrontation with them, and then he killed them. And then so he shows up later going, oh, who are my parents? And he knows finally who they are. I was like, let me in this Hall of Records. And then, there could have been a scene. Like, you could have had a flashback of like, oh, I always knew who they were and stuff like that. But, I mean, then you'd have the question of how you were literally a baby. But it's still those things where you're like, I want there to be more there, or just don't have him.
Would you be intrigued to find out, like, again, in Richard III, because there's a whole thing with his brother Clarence, isn't it, I think, in the play?
I think so. There's so many names running about. I feel bad that I don't have them all memorized.
But the thing, in the original script that Dan Waters did, it was revealed at the end that Max Schreck was the Penguin's brother. And this was supposed to be like a family feud and whatnot going throughout the whole thing. Well, it just seems like indications Penguin.
See, that also would have been very interesting to me.
Yeah. The thing is, again, like much of you, though, hate the trope of evil baby. I do have a kind of slight thing against, like, why does everyone have to be related? Like, when they do familial twists. But I could have accepted it with Max Schreck, though. It would have been like, well, he did target him specifically, as not as if it was a random happenstance that they find out, what do you know?
Exactly. Like, I'd be more okay with that than, just, everyone happens to be, I don't know. It was just a little odd to do. But you've got that, and then, like, I don't think they ever talk about Richard having been born bad.
Yeah.
I think actually he's got a line at some point, because I am so rejected by the world, I will be a villain, essentially, which I think actually Penguin has a very similar statement about when he goes down and he's been rejected. Not really been rejected by the people just found out you're playing us, and where he's like, I'll be an animal.
You can't really play the sympathetic note there. It's like, well, you were talking about, you're calling them like wretched pinhead puppets and stuff. I'm pretty sure they're okay to like not want you to be mayor anymore, dude.
Yeah, so I kind of wish that, like, because they do have enough there that I think it could be a beautiful parallel, but they never, probably because the script didn't lend to it, and obviously Burton's direction didn't, where I kind of wish they did go that full spectrum, because I think that makes the Penguin more compelling as a character, and but I do know there's a line from Queen Margaret who's like the Dowager Queen, like she's the former queen, like kind of haunting the castle when King Richard, essentially, not actually haunting, she's still alive, but she's like got a line about like, she's talking to Richard's mom, and it's like, from forth the kennel of thy womb hath crept a hellhound that doth hunt us all to death, and it's like, oh yes. Sorry, it's such a good line.
Love it.
Thing is, like, as soon as anyone says the word dowager, I immediately get the mental image of Homer Simpson writing "kill wealthy dowager" in my head.
That's fair.
I forgot all about that.
Kill wealthy dowager.
I do know though, and a lot of people really point out though, not just in terms of like, oh, the play itself, but very specifically the Laurence Olivier version. They're saying, oh, the DeVito was taking a lot of just all the kind of little grunts and stuff are kind of similar to what Olivier did sometimes in the movie.
I mean, fair. I mean, he's. I think it's a matter of like, he's got a very strange form, and
I believe that the nose, the people really go to this big long.
Like he can't breathe the same. Like he's limping around. The grunts to me just seem more like, no, of course, because he's having a hard time moving. He's not built to really move very gracefully, and I don't know. I'm going to be sacrilegious here and say I'm not a huge fan of Olivier.
Oh.
I know. What? Terrible. He's definitely got a style. And I think that should be respected. I'm not saying like he doesn't deserve his due, because he clearly was like good at what he did. He's got a very defined acting style. He helped shape the art form, but I personally do not care for it, regardless that he contributed.
It's very acted. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I'm watching something real. I am watching an actor.
Yes, he very much was like, he had the actor voice. Like,
I do feel now like we've classed up the week a bit by like, oh, we're having hot takes when dissing Laurence Olivier.
Hot takes.
Like that's
yeah.
Like last minute we're going on about like, oh, maybe Catwoman's grabbed his crotch and stuff, but now it's like, oh no, we've brought Kiri single-handedly brought the standards way back up. So
that's the show in a nutshell. We run the gamut.
Dun, dun, dun. I'm really sad, though, that now that I know that he had said that he could have just turned. Like, I really wish the Penguin actually had soliloquies. That would have been very beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, in the Dan Waters draft, he had soliloquies. He never shuts up, that Penguin.
I mean, his speech to the Penguins is very much, now is the winter of our discontent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, in Richard III, he has that thing about thy erogenous zones been bloweth sky hind and stuff like that.
That's terrifying.
Oh, yes, that famous Shakespeare line.
Also, though, it would be remiss if we didn't, after all this talk in the Laurence Olivier version of Richard III, also features Michael Gough, sorry, our dutiful Alfred, who's going to be with us through the end of the show, because he's stuck on. He's in there as, I'm not too sure I'm pronouncing the name correctly, but Dithton, the first murderer. So, I don't know if you remember who that is, Kiri, but if you do, that was Alfred.
What? You just blew my mind a little bit.
Oh my god!
I think obviously that those 5 seconds it took such a toll. It had to hit you so hard. Ooh, but
no, because my brain was like thinking about like the character and being like, oh my god, it was. I don't know what to do with that.
He also does a great version of what do you call him? the Mad March Hare in Alice in Wonderland in the BBC production.
Oh,
BBC production of Alice in Wonderland from the 60s.
oh! Now I need to go back and rewatch that. It's a trip of a rendition, but most of them
It
are.
was one of my was that in the we call Jan Vankmeyer. He did one. That was really
yeah.
good. But I remember his very irritating because every couple of seconds it had to cut to a mouth going "said the White Rabbit," and it's like, everything else here is awesome, dude. Why do you keep cutting back to the same thing?
Why do you keep doing this? This is creepy.
Niall, you didn't take enough drugs, and then you would appreciate it if you did.
Clearly, as we all know as Tim Burton fans, what Alice in Wonderland needs is you to get her in a suit of armor and for her to fight loads of CGI monsters.
Of course.
That was the one good part about that movie, I would argue.
But yeah, at this point though of the week, we would usually ask the guests about their history with the movie and final thoughts. If you want to rank it amongst the Batman movies and stuff, again, Kiri, because you've kind of come in, not to say you're talking smack about it, but like I remember when I first booked you last season, I was like, he's always really optimistic and enthusiastic. Is Kiri Callaghan? We should get her on. And then you kind of showed up with a real kind of like, oh, this movie's really stupid, isn't it? And we're like, what? And then like this one, you kind of come in and like, oh, she probably loves Catwoman. Then you had a bit of like a slightly different take than I was anticipating. So I'm interested to hear your final thoughts on the film as a whole and stuff.
I really want Catwoman to actually be like, I want that hint of her. Then I think I would like this better. I just don't like the idea of her personality completely changing without any hint of, you know what I mean? It's just that weird storytelling of like, but now she's sexy, and I'm like, okay. I'm just gonna say that hypersexualized, very much because it was during that time period where I feel like we got a lot of makeover movies, where it was very much this idea of like, but now she's an independent woman of the world. And I'm like, no, you really just took her from like one version of a sex symbol to another one, and she's not really in control of herself at all in either version.
Oh, you do know though, the original title of the movie was going to be She's All Cat. That's
yes, that's fair. That's fair. That's a good one. I like it.
And you have to work in that line at some point. She's all cat.
That's the name of the episode right there as well. Like,
exactly, she's all cat. Boom.
Even if the one minute this week the Catwoman doesn't feature in either.
Yeah, you also have like Pretty Woman and like where it's like, okay, but neither, like you're still kind of weirdly at the whim of other things. Anyway, but I do remember really enjoying this as a child and then rewatching it and going, oh
no, it's the best one, damn it.
Well, no, but the thing is like, other than the Nolan verse, I would argue, it probably is. Like, especially, there's just certain, I don't like the dumbing down of Batman, because I feel like he was dumbed down a bit, but that might have been their attempt to try to like have him be off guard by her. It just doesn't read that way to me. He just seems stupid. The fact that his Batmobile gets so easily broken into.
Yes.
I also want to know the story of that lady with the dog.
Oh, the poodle lady, one of our favorites.
The poodle lady is so fascinating to me, especially because he throws the Batarang at her and the dog just gets it and she's just like, okay. And then like walks away with the dog. And I'm like, this lady like is so not threatened by anything Batman does that I'm just like, I want to know her story.
Oh, that's the thing. Like in Minutes with Poodle Lady, she has become the Bob the Goon of this movie. It's like she's the favorite. Like every time Poodle Lady shows up,
amazing.
it's like, it's a Poodle Lady minute.
And I love Danny DeVito because he's just fucking chewing the scenery.
Oh
like,
yeah.
He's
anytime
loving
he's on screen, he's stealing all the show, and I think that's how it should be. I do wish now, like, that he had a bit more Richard III. I'm just really looking at it and going, I think my frustration is I like this, but now as someone who understands story structure and character development and foreshadowing better, I'm like, I know how this could be better, and I think that's why it frustrates me more. I feel like they have a lot of things that are only half-baked. Like, it's good, but you can see, like, oh, but this would make it so much more compelling if you just tweaked this just a bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's why all my frustration is, because, like, if a movie is bad, I don't really care so much. When a movie has the potential to be freaking amazing and it only gets, like, that I find extremely frustrating.
That's fair.
my big
yeah.
No.
my big pet peeve with it. But I did enjoy it. It was fun. We had a good laugh about it. My girlfriend and I were giggling about rewatching it and just going like, what's going on? This is great. I love his anytime he interacted with the penguins was great. Made my day.
Yes.
That's the kind of overtop I'm here for. The fact he has penguin pallbearers will forever be one of my favorite cinematic moments in history, even though you can kind of see the mat he's pulled in on.
I know, he slides very unnaturally, but I love it. Niall, when I die, can you arrange that for my funeral?
It's a great moment. Like, it's interesting because I feel like when they really lean into the absurdity, it's great. And then there are moments where I feel like it's like that weird, I gotta make it grittier or like whatever. And I'm like, but it's a different kind of absurdity. I don't know.
Yeah. That's fair enough. That's
You gotta support your absurdity with its own logic. I guess that's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
is like,
yeah.
If you're like, to make me believe that like this person is like, she's been brought back to life by cats and all that, and great, awesome. That's great. I think that's why we were talking about in one of the episodes, it's more believable for her to survive that fall if she lands on her feet than it is if she falls the way she does.
Yeah.
Because it's following its own logic that is already presented to us. If you give us something that looks more real world logic, then that suspension of disbelief gets broken. And I think that's where I find the problems with this movie. I do enjoy it. I do love it. But I feel like it needs to trust its own sense of logic a bit more and go that full Monty.
Oh, fair enough. But though you're talking about things that, could have been great, but frustratingly fall short, would you be interested in returning next year for Batman Forever?
I would. I love this. This is great. I love talking to you guys. I love weirdly going back in movies that, like, you watch for pure entertainment, but when you stop and watch it minute by minute, you're like, okay, wait a minute.
Exactly.
You get to really see the full absurdity and also kind of appreciate it more, again, because you can go, well, wait, why didn't you do this? Because that actually would have made this way better or, like, make more sense.
I think it's a good thing. Like, some people think it's a bit like you're nitpicking and being a bit harsh, picking a movie apart. It's like, no, you do it out of love. If you didn't love it, you wouldn't be doing this.
Exactly. Nitpicking, I feel like, just to get really gross for a minute, is what, it's what animals do. They pick nits out of each other to it's a kind of grooming. It is an act of love.
Yes.
Or, it's removing lice from someone's hair, but regardless, it's still an act of love. It's grooming. I don't think there's anything wrong with nitpicking. I feel like you can love something and still criticize it or still want it to be better.
But I think in order to love something, you should be thinking those things.
Ooh, I like that.
But yeah, I'm all noted out for this minute. If you guys are, we can wrap this up.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yes. One last time, then, before we head off into the dark, dark night, would you like to tell our listeners where they can find you and your wonderful work all over the interwebs?
Well, listeners, if you aren't sick of me, I don't know why someone got a voice. Nah. If you aren't totally sick of me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and I've got a blog that I'm realizing I forget to punch all the time, and a Discord. We're a great community. We're very loving and all about curiousness and creativity. And check out my YouTube and my Patreon, where I am working on my second book, giving sneak peeks per chapter as they are finished. And if you're interested in the first book, because you're like, wait, second book, you can find it on any major retailer. It's Alice, ALYS. If your local library isn't carrying it, tell them they should. But yeah. Wow.
Hey, do check all that out. And if you are curious, also, if you're Bat curious, we are on Facebook at the Bat Minute Listeners Cave, where you can explore your Bat curiosity. And we are also on Twitter at Bat Minute and Instagram, YouTube. We're everywhere, all over the place. If we're not somewhere and you want us to be, tell us, and I'll just make an account. I don't care, whatever. I'll make it. I'll be wherever you want me to be. We have a Discord that I don't promote. I never, ever promote it. There's about 5 people on it. So there you go. We'll be back again. So see you on Monday for Minute 64.
I can attempt it. It's not going to be great. I'm gonna give you that warning. I was practicing and was realizing Christopher Walken is not in my wheelhouse. not really, but I'm gonna attempt it anyway. Because the best I can do is like maybe a line as him, but I'm gonna attempt it.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a really dumb joke, just so that you're endeared to me before I do this.
Okay.
And that is a joke I heard of I went to go into see the hairstylist because I realized my hair needs to be trimmed, and I figured if they'd have any openings maybe, and receptionist looks up and goes, "Oh, are you a walk-in?" And I said, "Yes, I am."
Yes.
So dumb.
Love it. The best.
It's not good, but it makes me laugh.
It's great.
All right. Okay. I'm going to see if I can try this. Okay. Oh, God. Okay. Next time, a not-so-great white grope, with his finger on the button, a currently non-incumbent gets lecherous with the electorate. It seems Perving on partisans cannot cease his ascension, but I don't know what this voice is becoming.
It was great.
I'm sorry. See if I can I just start from it seems Perving? Since he pauses so much. It seems Perving on partisans cannot cease his ascension, but which purring cur is about to cross into his dimension? Find out next week. Same bat pod, different bat minute.